Okay, it's time to get our roller lifters installed. These came with my cam kit, and what I'm going to do is we're going to take these into the shop. I'm going to oil the sides, and I'm going to put assembly lube on the roller. It's clearly said. I remember when I did this a long time ago with an older engine, you actually soak these and let them pump up and that type of stuff, but my machinist said don't do that, and the directions for this comp can said don't do that, and so did the instructions in the manual that I'm following. So we're just going to lube these up just on the outside with some oil again and some assembly lube.
Looking down from the heights that we have built all by ourselves, and there is fear of the unknown, but we cannot lose control when we feel like the world is against us. We're trying to find ourselves without the defining words. We can no longer hold on to what only makes us hurt. We cannot sink into the dark. The vertigo is getting sharp. There's something greater than ourselves that we must reach for. Now which way do we go is the question to ask. There are so many choices that it's hard not to ask. What is real and what is fake, and the risk we have to take. Will we know what is
I'm going to clean this stuff off one last time. Some of that assembly lube is kind of run down over it. I want to get a nice smooth clean surface. I've installed the dowel pins. Alright, so now we're also going to put the head gaskets on, and the way Felpro, there's tons of questions on this. They got a clearly labeled front, so we need to put this to this side, but whether this one goes on here or goes the other direction on the other side, and they say they don't care, but okay, so on this 2001 engine, we bought new bolts. These are stretch to yield bolts, so we had to buy brand new bolts. These shorter ones, there's 5 of them. They go up the top. And then we got 2 medium-sized length bolts. They go in these top 2 corners. And then the long ones go in the rest. Okay, so now we're going to torque everything down. We're going to bring these down just snug, and then we're going to torque all 10 of these to 22 foot-pounds, and then we go through one pass, everything goes to 90 degrees, and then a second pass where just the long ones go to 90 degrees and these two go to 50 degrees. And that's what we'll do next. Get these heads mounted up. Alright, so let's run all these down just kind of snug. Yep. Okay, so everything's just snug down. We're going to forget about these top 5 now and work strictly on these. There's a torque sequence. We're going to follow the torque sequence. I'll put in the screen. We're going to take all of these to 22 foot-pounds following that torque sequence. Did it click?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to follow that same sequence and take all 10 of these bottom ones to 90 degrees. And let me go get that tool. Okay, for our angle gauge, I just didn't feel like going out and buying one, but I wanted to get more precise. So I took an old CD and printed a protractor on it, on a label, stuck that label on here. I had to widen the hole a little bit to get it fit on this 1/2 inch extension. But now what we're going to be able to do is stick this on here where we want it. I use a coat hanger as a little indicator. This kind of wobbles, so we have to be careful there. Set this indicator on here, like so. Once you get it where you want it, now there's enough friction on here, I can dial that into 0. We'll turn our 90 degrees. We'll be able to tell exactly where we are. So you're going to have to hold this kind of at the same spot every time, right? Let's get that where that'll indicate better if I do this, and 0. Okay, so go 90. A little more. Okay. Alright, go to your next bolt. Okay, that'll do. Do you get what over there? Okay. More. Good.
When you want to get off the darkest ground, the gravity pulls you straight down. From a bird's eye view, you should grow feathers and see this too. When you want to get off the darkest ground, the gravity pulls you straight down.
I'll check you go 90 first anyway. Yep. Okay. Alright, so that was the second round. So now we're going to go start with our sequence again, do 90, except for these last two, we're going to go 50. Yep, starting here.
When you want to get off that darkest ground, the gravity pulls you straight down. Earth from a bird's eye view. You should grow feathers and see this too.
You don't have to do that.
When you want to get off that darkest ground,
No more. Okay. All right, then we're gonna finish these last two. Only go to 50. Remember that. All right, so 50 is just past that red line. All right. Now let's take this coat hanger off of here, and then we got to take these down to 20 foot-pounds. This is going to start building these outside. Okay, that head's done. Let's spin this over a little bit and get the other one done. Okay, we determined that I can use this hand and steady this and hold this and make it work just as well. And going 50. Okay, and the last one. Again, let me hold it. Okay. Okay. All right, so this thing actually worked kind of cool. I think it was a success, and I know I got all my college buddies will give me hell for that, but you know, that saved me $10, and that's at least 3 beers, right? Okay, so it was well worth it. And now I can throw it away and not have an extra tool in my unused tool. So let's get this off. We're going to torque these down to 22 foot-pounds, and we'll be done with both heads. So you know you start sweating a few bullets when you realize you just did about 10 minutes worth of work and your microphone battery went dead. So you got to do a little voiceover on this stuff. But right here we're installing the rocker stands. The gist here is to go ahead and put in a couple bolts on either end of it to make sure it stays aligned. All the bolt holes stay aligned. So we're installing here the one on the far right, and then also the 1/3 from the left, because we're actually going to be working on cylinder 1, which is there right at Austin's left hand. Today I got Austin, he's my younger son, working with me today, so he's today's guest mechanic. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to install all these push rods. We're going to oil the bottom end, the end that touches the lifter. And that's just that standard 30 weight oil that I'm going to use for my break-in. We're just going to dip it down in there and then push all these rods into place. Now at this point, the lifters are still stuck up in the lifter tray, so we're going to actually go and push down each of these push rods so that we push that rocker. Now that lifter is sitting on the camshaft, and that's what we kind of want. And now we're gonna do it one cylinder at a time. For each cylinder, the left-hand valve is the intake valve, and the right-hand valve is the exhaust valve. And you're gonna rotate the crank until that exhaust valve on the right just starts lifting up. And then now we're ready to install the intake lifter, or the intake rocker arm. And I'm lubing this up with that Croil. It's a very, very thin oil. It's getting down inside the trundle bearing and lubricating that real good. As well as here I'm showing the fact that there's a flat spot on one side of that trundle bearing, and then the other side a rounded spot. The rounded spot goes down, the flat spot goes up, and that's what the bottom of the bolt head will seat against. And then I'm using my assembly lube to put a little bit of assembly lube in the little cup that goes to the top end of the push rod, and then another little bit on the little cam that will actually push down on the valve. And here I've got some of that assembly, special assembly lube by ARP on all the threads of these bolts. And now, because we've rotated that crankshaft to that exact position, I know that the lifter underneath this intake valve is sitting on the base circle of that cam. So it's not trying to perform any lift at all, and that's why we can now take and torque this down. We're torquing it down to 22 foot-pounds. Alright, so now that one's done. So now to get the exhaust one in the right position, we're going to take this intake rocker arm. We're going to rotate the crank until that intake valve completely opens and almost gets to the shut position. So there it's starting to open. It's all the way open now, and now it's starting to shut. And right there we're going to stop it. Now I know that my exhaust cam is on the base circle, and we can now install that rocker. Here I'm using my left hand to make sure that that one tab stays centered on top of the valve. Alright, so that's how you do each of the each cylinder. We're going to do that same exact process, both down this driver's side of the engine for cylinders 1, 3, 5, and 7, and then we're going to flip over and do the passenger side as well. So that's going to wrap up the head and rocker arm installation. Next I'm going to start taping up this and get it prepped for paint, as well as some of the other individual parts, but we'll hear about more of that next time.
Jack it up.